They called it a phase, said I was wasting time, but while they slept, I built. No support, no applause, just belief. This is how I proved them wrong. My name is Daniel Harper. I grew up in a small, quiet town tucked away in rural Ohio, the kind of place where everyone knows your name, your parents' names, and what grade you got on your last math test. It was a town built on routine, where tradition wasn't just respected, it was expected. People didn't chase dreams there. They built lives. Steady, reliable, practical lives. My parents were the epitome of that mindset. My mother worked the night shift as a nurse at the local hospital, and my father spent his days fixing wires and lighting up people's homes as an electrician. They were honest, hard-working people who lived by a simple rule. If you do what's expected of you, you'll be okay. Maybe not rich, maybe not famous, but safe, secure. And they loved me. I never doubted that. But their love came with expectations. From the time I was a child, they laid out the blueprint of my future like a neat little map. Graduate high school with decent grades. Get into a state university. Pick a stable, respectable major, something useful like business or engineering. Land a solid 9-to-5 job with benefits. Settle down, buy a house, start a family before I hit 30. No risks, no uncertainty, no detours. But the problem was, I didn't fit into that map. Ever since I could remember, I felt something pulling me in a different direction. While other kids were dreaming of cars and careers, I was dreaming in color and sound. I spent hours sketching, writing stories, getting lost in music and movies. I wasn't interested in a conventional life. I wanted to create. I wanted to perform. I wanted to chase a feeling, not a paycheck. When I was 16, I told my parents I wanted to go to New York after graduation, not for college, but to pursue acting and screenwriting. I'll never forget the look on their faces. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even disappointment. It was fear. A deep, wordless fear that I was walking straight into failure, into a life of instability and regret. They didn't yell. They didn't forbid me. But from that moment on, it felt like I had let them down in a way that couldn't be fixed. They started speaking in what-ifs and maybes. What if you just apply to a few business programs just in case? Maybe you could try acting as a hobby on the side. You're so smart. Why waste it on something so uncertain? It wasn't just that they didn't understand my dream, it was that they were terrified of it. To them, dreaming big was dangerous, risky, reckless. So, no, my parents weren't cruel. They didn't try to stop me out of hate. But they couldn't support something they didn't believe in. And in their eyes, the life I wanted wasn't the life they had worked so hard to protect me from. That's when I realized, if I wanted to follow my path, I'd have to walk it alone. After high school, I didn't pack my bags and head to New York like I dreamed. I didn't have the money, the plan, or, if I'm honest, the courage, not yet. But something in me still refused to accept the path my parents had laid out. College didn't feel right. I didn't want to waste 4 years studying something that meant nothing to me. So I stayed home, enrolled in a few community college classes just to keep the peace, and kept searching for something that felt like mine. One night, scrolling aimlessly through YouTube, I clicked on a video titled, "How I Made $50,000 Dropshipping in 6 Months." It was everything my parents hated, flashy, loud, full of promises. The guy in the video stood in front of a rented Lamborghini bragging about freedom, passive income, and never working a 9-to-5 again. Normally, I'd roll my eyes, but that night, something clicked. It wasn't the money that drew me in. It was the idea that someone had built something from scratch, on their own terms. No degree, no boss, no roadmap, just hustle and belief. So I dove headfirst into the rabbit hole. YouTube tutorials, blog posts, Reddit threads, Shopify guides. I learned how to set up a store, research winning products, run Facebook ads. It felt like I was building something real. Maybe not a movie script, maybe not a Broadway show, but a step away from everything they wanted and a step closer to who I really was. I told my parents about it one evening at dinner. "I want to start my own online store," I said, trying to sound confident. There was a long pause. Then my dad chuckled, without looking up from his plate. "You're not a businessman, Dan." My mom sighed and offered a polite, dismissive smile. "Sell things online? Come on, it's just a phase." That phrase hit harder than they probably intended. A phase, like a temporary fever, like a tantrum, like I was playing pretend again, just like when I used to act out movie scenes in the backyard with a toy camera. I asked if they could help. Just a small loan, $500 to get started. I wasn't asking for much, but they refused, not out of spite, out of fear. They thought helping me would be feeding the delusion, enabling the failure. So I did what I had to do. I found a graveyard shift at a gas station, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 3 nights a week. It was brutal. The pay was minimum wage. The customers were mostly drunk or angry, and I was constantly sleep-deprived. But I saved every penny. When I wasn't working, I was building. I borrowed an old second-hand laptop from a friend and turned my tiny bedroom into a digital war room. The glow of the screen lit up the walls as I designed logos, wrote product descriptions, tested layouts, studied analytics I barely understood. My friends were out partying or doing keg stands at frat houses. I was watching AliExpress shipping times and tweaking ad copy at 3 a.m. Every time my mom walked past my door, she looked in with quiet concern, or maybe disappointment. She'd see me hunched over the laptop, headphones in, muttering to myself about conversions and engagement. She thought I was spiraling. I overheard them one night, whispering in the kitchen when they thought I was asleep. "He's wasting his life," my mom said quietly. "He's chasing ghosts," my dad replied. But what they didn't understand was that, for the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing ghosts. I was chasing independence. I was chasing myself. My first few months in the world of e-commerce were nothing like the videos. There were no fireworks, no six-figure payouts, no Lamborghinis and rented driveways, just silence and doubt. I launched my first store selling phone cases, minimalist designs I thought looked sleek and modern. I got 0 sales, not low sales, 0. Then I tried pet accessories, thinking the cute dog niche would explode. I got 1 sale from a friend who felt sorry for me. I kept switching, desperately hoping to strike gold. Kitchen gadgets, LED strip lights, resistance bands, novelty mugs. Each product felt like a new lifeline. Each failure felt like a slow death. I watched the money I had saved from those long nights at the gas station slowly disappear. Ad budgets dried up. My Shopify subscription still had to be paid. I wasn't just failing, I was bleeding. My parents noticed, of course. They didn't yell or shame me. That wasn't their way. Instead, they left job ads on the kitchen table. Quiet little hints. Post-it notes with things like clerk position, full benefits, or receptionist needed, entry level. And one morning, my dad handed me a paper and said flatly, "I scheduled you an interview. It's next Tuesday. Wear a shirt with buttons. No discussion, no room for protest, just an assumption that I'd finally come to my senses. "Enough of this nonsense," he said. "You need real work." That word, nonsense, cut deeper than I expected. He wasn't angry. He was tired of watching me struggle, but what he didn't see was that I wasn't chasing nothing. Still, I started to break. Every failure chipped away at my confidence. Every new product that didn't sell felt like a confirmation of what they believed all along, that I was just a dreamer, a kid playing pretend in a grown-up world. Some nights, I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, my laptop still glowing beside me, wondering, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not built for this. Maybe I'm just wasting time. Maybe I should have taken the interview. That self-doubt became a constant background noise. Even my friends stopped asking about the business. They'd say things like, "You still doing that online thing?" Or worse, "You gave that up yet?" I felt like the punchline in someone else's joke. But here's the thing. Every time I stood on the edge of quitting, every time I was about to hit cancel subscription on Shopify or delete folder marked store assets V4 final, really final this time, something deep inside stopped me. It wasn't pride. It wasn't delusion. It was this quiet, stubborn voice that whispered, "You're not wrong. You're just early." Because I wasn't lazy. I wasn't avoiding responsibility. I was doing the opposite, taking responsibility for the kind of life I wanted, even if no one else understood it. I didn't know it yet, but I was building something more than a business. I was building endurance, resilience, vision, and even if no one else believed in it, I had to. After 8 long months of near constant failure, exhaustion, and self-doubt, I hit a wall. I was done spinning my wheels, trying to chase every flashy trend or hot product I stumbled upon online. Copying other stores, blindly following what looked popular, it was a dead end. So one night, I sat down with a blank notebook and forced myself to ask, what do people really care about right now? What problem can I solve that actually matters? The answer surprised me. Or maybe it didn't. It was sustainability, eco-friendly living. The idea that people want to make better choices for the planet, but need simple, accessible options. I poured everything I had into researching this niche. Hours turned into days as I read article after article, watched documentaries, explored forums where people talked about reducing waste and ditching plastics. I redesigned my store from the ground up. This time, it wasn't just about selling things. It was about a message. Cloth wraps instead of cling film, bamboo cutlery instead of plastic forks, eco-friendly sponges made from natural fibers. I worked on branding, warm colors, clean fonts, packaging that felt personal and thoughtful. I wanted people to feel the care behind the products. With my last $200, I launched an ad campaign. I was nervous. Every dollar counted now. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about proving to myself that this could work. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind raced with hope, fear, and anticipation. Then, just before dawn, my phone buzzed. One notification, then another, then 17. 17 orders overnight. At first, I thought it was a glitch, maybe some error in the system. But when the payments came through, reality hit me like a wave. I wasn't just getting lucky. I was winning. That week, my store pulled in over $1,400 in profit. The next week, it was $3,000. I wasn't rich, not even close. But for the first time since I started, I wasn't failing. I wanted to shout it from the rooftops, to tell my parents, my friends, look, I told you, but I held back. Because after so many months of disappointment, I knew this was just the beginning. One good week didn't erase the past 8 months. It didn't erase their doubts. It didn't erase the silence at the dinner table or the whispered phase when I wasn't around. I wanted to build something lasting, something undeniable. So I kept working, quietly, relentlessly, waiting for the moment when I could finally say, this is real. The months after that first breakthrough blurred together in a whirlwind of work, learning, and growth. I was no longer just tinkering in my parents' basement. I was building a business, real business. Every dollar I made went right back into the store. I upgraded the website to make it faster and easier to navigate. I invested in customer support tools so shoppers felt heard and valued. I reached out to influencers who believed in sustainability and were willing to promote my products. I negotiated better shipping deals to speed up deliveries and cut costs. It wasn't glamorous. There were late nights, missed calls, and endless to-do lists. But I was hooked. At 20, I packed up my few belongings and moved into a tiny studio apartment, my first real step away from home. It was cramped and noisy, but it was mine. A space where I could dream without looking over my shoulder. With the business growing, I hired my first freelancer, a virtual assistant from the Philippines who helped with customer emails and social media. It felt surreal to be a boss at 20, managing someone halfway across the world. But I didn't stop there. I launched 2 new stores, one selling sustainable office supplies, recycled paper, bamboo pens, eco-friendly notebooks, and another for dog toys made from natural materials. Each niche connected with what I believed in, and each brought in more customers. At 21, I hit my first major milestone, $100,000 in revenue, a number I never imagined I'd see. But despite the progress, my parents still thought I was working at that gas station. They asked me every now and then when I was going to get a real job. I didn't correct them. I let them believe it was still just a hobby, a stopgap. Why? Because I wasn't interested in rubbing my success in their faces. I wanted my achievements to speak for themselves, to build something so undeniable that words would become irrelevant. Then one evening, during a family dinner, my dad, with the same tired expression he'd worn for years, asked, "So, when are you going to stop wasting time with that computer stuff?" I smiled, stood up quietly, and walked to my room. I printed out my last quarter's income report, numbers glowing on the page, proof of the work I'd poured my soul into. I handed it to him without a word. For the first time, he looked at me differently, like he was seeing me for who I really was. Not just his son, not just a dreamer, but a man who had carved his own path. At first, there was nothing but silence. My father sat there, holding the paper in his hands like it was something fragile, something he wasn't sure he could believe. His eyes traced the numbers again and again, as if willing them to be a mistake. Then, slowly, he looked up at me. "This real?" he asked quietly. I nodded, my heart pounding. He didn't say much more. Instead, he folded the printout carefully and handed it to my mom. Her reaction was immediate and unmistakable. "Daniel, is this in dollars?" she gasped, her eyes wide with disbelief. It was as if the numbers had transported her to a different world, one where their son wasn't the dreamer wasting time on computer stuff, but a young man building a real business with real success. That night, sleep didn't come easy. The silence around the house felt heavier, charged with unspoken thoughts and shifting perspectives. The very next morning, my dad walked into my room with an awkward smile and a new tone, tentative but curious. "So, tell me more about these websites," he said. For the first time, he wanted to understand the world I had been living in all along. That weekend, my mom made her famous lemon pie, a recipe she only breaks out for special occasions or celebrations. She put a slice on my desk with a shy smile. By the end of the month, everything had changed. They were bragging about me to relatives, their voices full of pride I hadn't heard before. My mom posted a photo of my modest office setup on Facebook, captioned, "So proud of my hard-working son." My dad, once dismissive, started sending me articles about the latest e-commerce trends, eager to keep up with the industry I'd carved out for myself. It felt surreal, like stepping into a dream. The same people who had quietly whispered that I was wasting my life, who had doubted every choice I made, now looked at me with respect, admiration, even pride. They didn't just accept my path anymore. They wanted to be a part of it. And though part of me reveled in the vindication, another part stayed cautious, because I knew success could change how others saw me, but it couldn't erase the years of struggle, the moments of loneliness, or the voice inside me that reminded me why I started in the first place. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, all the nights of doubt, the months of struggle, the tension with my parents, it's this: people will often mock or dismiss what they don't understand, even the people who love you the most. It's not because they want to see you fail. It's because they're scared. Scared for you. Scared that you might take a risk and fall. Scared that you might be wrong. They want to protect you from pain, even if that protection feels like a cage. My parents weren't villains. They were just trapped in their own fears and experiences, a world built on security and predictability. And I was the anomaly, the wild card they didn't know how to play. But your dream, it's yours, not theirs. You don't need applause before you start. You don't need approval to keep going. You only need belief in yourself. That quiet, stubborn voice that won't let you give up. The one that says, "This is possible. I just haven't figured it out yet." Now, years later, I help other young entrepreneurs who are walking the same path I once did. Those who hear the doubts, the "you can't," the "you're wasting your time." Every time someone says to me, "My parents don't believe in me," I tell them the same thing I wish someone had told me: that's okay. You're not building their dream. You're building yours. Protect your vision. Nurture it. And no matter what anyone says, keep going. Because the only thing more powerful than fear is the courage to believe in yourself. Thank you very much for listening to the story. If you liked it, please subscribe to the channel and give it a like. It really helps. See you in the next story. Until then, all the best and goodbye.